Welcome. If you're watching this video right now, it's because one of our WILDFIT coaches sent you this video, and I'm really glad that they did. My name is Eric Edmeades. I'm the founder of WILDFIT, and I want to share with you a little bit about what WILDFIT is, how it started, and what it can do for you. When I was a young man in my early 20s, I was sick. I was consistently and continually sick. Not so terribly sick, not terminally sick, but really uncomfortable. I had consistent throat infections and sinus infections. I was carrying extra weight. I had horrible cystic acne, and I had digestive problems that would make it just about impossible for me to think when the cramps kicked in. My life was difficult, but like many people, I'd arrived at a point where it simply was my life, and I didn't even think of myself as being sick. I just thought of myself as being me. I visited many doctors at the push of my parents that prescribed pills and injections and even surgery at one point. And I am so grateful to tell you that some friends of mine sat me down one day and said that I might want to reconsider my relationship with food. I had no idea what they were talking about. I was basically healthy. I mean, sure, I ate a little fast food from time to time. And, you know, when somebody made a nice dessert, of course, I would tuck right in. But I wasn't like unhealthy. Only over the next couple of weeks, as I experimented by taking out some foods that I'd been eating on a regular basis and adding in some other things, as I made some experiments, I turned my entire health around in only 30 days. It blew my mind. If you ever suffered with acne, you'll know the difference between new and old acne. New acne are new spots coming up under the skin. Old acne is spots that are healing. Well, there came a point one day when I looked in the mirror and I saw it. I had no new acne coming up. And come to think of it, I was breathing through my nose for the first time in almost a decade, and I hadn't had any stomach cramps in weeks. My entire life was different. In fact, over the space of 30 days, I lost 30 to 35 pounds. My life was transformed. And that stimulated a powerful curiosity in me. Why? Well, because frankly, I'd been visiting doctors for many, many years, and they'd been prescribing all kinds of things to me, and none of them had worked. And it was at that point that I began to recognize that mostly what doctors were doing was prescribing things to deal with the symptoms and not at all addressing the cause. And so I wanted to start digging into the cause. Now, luckily for me, archaeology and anthropology ran in my family. My great-grandfather discovered the oldest ever Homo sapien skull. And so even as a small boy, I was really fascinated by early human history. And you can't be interested in that without being interested in what our earliest relatives ate. I also became very fascinated by what we might now call behavioral change psychology. And that is why people do what they do, or why it is they don't do what they wish they would. And so a few years ago, I combined these ideas. I combined these curiosities that I'd been chasing for years, and I put them into one single program. I put them into one program that combines incredibly powerful ideas about what we'd call nutritional anthropology or evolutionary nutrition and psychology. You see, the thing is, we all know at this point that diets don't work. We all know that willpower is not a strategy. We all know that. We know that the average person will gain 3 pounds every time they go on a diet. We know that many people have given up and done their last diet. They're never going to try again. And so what I want to let you know is that when I combined these things into one program, I tested it on 8 people. Just 8 people in my circle of friends. And you know what was incredible? All 8 of them had dramatic turnaround. All 8 of them. Massive weight loss in some cases where it was necessary, inflammation reduction, improved sleep, improved energy, improved moods. All 8 of them. But that's not really a test. It's 8 people. It's 8 people I knew. In order to really test it out, we'd have to expose it to more people. And so we did a few more classes of 8. And again, it worked. One day, a friend of mine, an author in the United States, wrote to me and he goes, "My God, this program really works." And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Well, this morning I was setting up a sales page with my publicity team. And I saw the photograph of me on the sales page. And I said, 'Who the hell is that guy? That's not who I'm looking at the mirror.'" And they said, "Well, that's the picture we took of you only 3 months ago." He sent them a new picture. He had so transformed his face that he barely even looked the same by changing his relationship with food. So then he said to me, "Could I tell my network about your program?" Well, at this point, I didn't even have a website. I mean, how could he do that? So I quickly had to put a website together. And up to this point, we had tested WILDFIT with up to about 150 to 200 clients a year. And that was it. But suddenly, 200 people signed up immediately in a few days. And it worked. In fact, those same 200 people were surveyed 2 years later, and 80% of them said they were still absolutely on track. And the other 20% said they weren't as on track as they'd like to be, but none of them had fully regressed to the way things were before. And so over the last 7 years, we've now served over 35,000 people in 130 countries, helping people change the relationship with food without having to rely on willpower as a strategy, by understanding some things about behavioral change and understanding some things about the human body and our biology. Look, isn't it true that there are some foods that simply make you hungry? Isn't it true that there are some foods that just never seem to fill you up? But isn't it also true that there are some foods that actively work to take away your freedom? I'm here to give it back. I'm here to give you your freedom back. And the coach that recommended this program to you is the best person for you to reach out to right now on this page. Register for their next WildFit challenge, and you will completely transform your relationship with food and your quality of life. My name is Eric Edmeades. I'm so glad that you found your way to this video, and I can't wait for you to begin your WildFit journey.